Welcome to W&L Sports Weekly. I'm Jeremy Franklin. This week we'll speak with women's cross country coach Mike Dager, women's soccer captain Ashley Hogan, and men's swimming captain Harrison Westgarth. But first, a quick look back at the weekend in Washington and Lee athletics. Football took over sole possession of first place in the ODAC with the 48-34 victory at Guilford. Men's soccer fell 1-0 to Randolph-Macon, and field hockey dropped a 3-1 decision to Lynchburg on the road. Volleyball lost a 5-set match to Lynchburg, but rebounded to sweep Randolph and the University of Dallas. Women's swimming won the ODAC relays, and women's tennis senior Brooke Donnelly finished 7th at the ITA Oracle Cup. Men's cross country placed 4th overall at Oberlin's Interregional Rumble, while the women's team came in 11th. Joining me now is women's cross country coach Mike Dager. Mike, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy.
The meet at Oberlin was your regular season finale. What have you learned about your team over the last month and a half?
I've learned that we're really starting to put things together. We started the season with a few of our top returners out of action. They ended up in the preseason camp with some injuries, but we're getting them healthy, and it was actually the first time our top 3 returners raced this weekend, and we saw some promising results. The group as a whole got out a little too hard and paid the price in the final half of the race. So if we race a little bit more conservatively the rest of the season, at least for the first half, I think we'll see some good results moving forward.
The Generals have some great junior and senior leadership, but the majority of your roster is comprised of underclassmen. Tell us about the dynamic between experience and youth on this year's team.
I think we're a team that attracts leaders. Almost everyone on the team, possibly everyone, was captain of their high school cross-country team. So they work really well together. There's a great dynamic. It's a really supportive group. You know, just this past weekend we saw a lot of sophomores talking to first years about race strategy and what we could have done a little bit differently, and those things are just happening because we have so many great leaders on the team. It's not something that the coaches necessarily have to do or encourage to happen. It's really a good group dynamic, so it's been very positive.
Last year, W&L finished 3rd at the NCAA regional meet, just 1 spot away from the full team qualifying for nationals. How has that close call motivated the Generals for this year?
We've been very motivated by a regional finish last year. Honestly, it was a bit of a surprise. Our goal was to possibly finish 5th. So us finishing 3rd was, we overachieved a little bit. Everyone ran really well on the same day, which is hard to do sometimes. But realistically, we're just moving along 1 week at a time and keeping things in perspective. You can't really rush success. Nationals is definitely something that we talk about, and it's a goal. It's been a goal of the program for 31 years, and I think we can definitely make it happen. It's just going to take some time, and you know, not rushing it is going to work out to our advantage when it does happen.
W&L will host the ODAC Championship on October 29th. What are your expectations for the conference meet?
Well, Brandon and I, the men's cross-country coach, our main objective is to just put on the best meet that we can for all the teams in the conference. We're really happy with the way the course has been received by everyone from the preview meet. And as from a team perspective, I think if we run conservatively for the first mile of the race and kind of move up, I think we should see a good result and meet some of the goals that we've been talking about all year.
Mike, thanks for joining us. Best of luck to the team in the postseason.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy.
Here with me in the studio is Ashley Hogan, senior soccer captain from North Chesterfield, Virginia. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Last Wednesday, W&L handed Lynchburg its first ODAC loss in almost 7 years, and you did so on the Hornets' home field. How significant is that victory for the Generals?
I think this is a major victory for us. Definitely in my 4 years here, Lynchburg has been the team to beat, and they have edged us. And so it was definitely really nice having a win coming home Wednesday night. And I think it has positioned us really well for the rest of the season. And so we kind of need to make sure we're doing what we're doing in these next 4 games and win out.
Through the weekend's action, W&L was tied for first in the ODAC, but there were 6 teams within 3 points of first place. Is this the most balanced that you've seen the conference during your time at W&L?
Absolutely. So the ODAC is extremely unpredictable this year. At any given game, anything can happen, which is why focus is incredibly important at this point in the season. And so I think definitely we need to consider that as we move through the rest of the week.
The Generals have kept 6 straight clean sheets after the 2-0 win over Eastern Mennonite. How much has the defense improved throughout the course of the year?
I think tremendously. I think we are moving more as like one consistent solid unit, and we're communicating more effectively across the back line, and I think it's very important for us to keep these clean sheets going forward. As you can tell, some of these games are 1-0, 2-0 games, and so that clean sheet is extremely important.
W&L has several crucial conference matches remaining, starting with a home contest against Virginia Wesleyan on Saturday. What are the keys to maintaining your high level of play as you get closer to the ODAC tournament?
Yeah, so definitely it's going to begin with practice this week. We need 3 really good days of doing what we do best, playing our game, staying focused, and doing what we've been training for all season long. And I think a lot of the pressure is coming on about, with the last 4 games coming up, about how we can do the best we can. And I think we just need to really be ourselves and do what Coach has been telling us and continue on.
Ashley, thanks for joining us. Best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you so much.
I'm joined now by Harrison Westgarth, senior swimming captain from McKinney, Texas. Harrison, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
W&L opened the season by winning the Derby City Invitational on October 8th. How pleased were you with the team's performance in Louisville?
I was quite personally pleased. Early on in the season, it's always nice to have an invitational where you're first overall with the men's and women's team. We had a number of first place finishes and just best times from our first years and a lot of our upperclassmen as well. And that always bodes well for the season going into it, seeing our young roster already performing at quite a high level.
You're one of the 3 captains on the team with a very large roster. What do you hope to contribute through your leadership position?
First, I actually think it would be most fitting to say that the swim team is a little bit unique in that it's both a men's and women's roster, and we practice together, we go to competitions together. And that being said, it's more as if I'm one of 6 captains because there are also 3 women. As in regard to what I hope to contribute this year, I really want to help bring the first years into the fold, into the team. It's a special year because about half our roster is composed up of first years, so they're obviously going to be contributing quite a bit to our performance over the year. So getting them really kind of to buy into this team and realize that it's fun to swim fast, it's fun to work through this long season together, and we have a tradition of going fast and we just want to get better. So we need them to help us get to those goals and reach them.
Before the end of the term, W&L will compete at Carnegie Mellon. You also swim in invitationals at Randolph-Macon and Franklin and Marshall. What are the Generals looking to accomplish during the first half of the season?
For Carnegie Mellon, they've always been a very fast team. They've always been a challenge for us. Every year we chip away at them a little bit, get a little closer to beating them, besting them. However, this year it would be really nice to finally beat them, best them on their home turf, especially with our young roster. And it being my senior year, I obviously can't complain about that. Regarding the invitationals, for the Franklin and Marshall Invitational, the D1 team, University of Delaware, actually comes to that meet. And last year we challenged them a little bit early on, but it is a little difficult to keep up with them. But if we're able to challenge them even more this year, kind of move a little closer, trying to put some things in the pool for them to race against, that would be really, really nice and a good opportunity for us.
What are the team's goals for 2016-17?
Overall goals are obviously to send the greatest number of athletes to nationals that we ever have in the history of the team. We had a really nice showing last year with both men and women going in relays and individuals. If we're able to field a greater number of relays, a greater number of individuals, All-Americans, that would obviously be something that would be great for the team and for the kind of moving forward and wanting to get faster. This is our last year in our Deer Pool of Cy Twombly. So if we could set a few more pool records in that pool in the next semester, the second half of the season, right before it kind of leaves us, it'd be really nice to finish with that right at the end.
Harrison, thanks for joining us. Best of luck throughout the year.
Thank you.
It's time now for a look at the upcoming Young Alumni Weekend. Men's and women's swimming will meet Randolph-Macon on Friday. On Saturday, field hockey returns home to face Eastern Mennonite, while men's soccer plays host to a rematch of last year's ODAC championship game against Randolph. Football will take on longtime rival Hampton-Sydney, and women's soccer gets set for another ODAC showdown against Virginia Wesleyan. Volleyball travels to Christopher Newport, where the Generals will meet up with the 20th ranked captains and Penn State Harrisburg. For W&L Sports Weekly, I'm Jeremy Franklin.